Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of For the Love of Drag. It's your girl, Astala Vista, a.k.a. Chucky.
And I'm Jimmy Boone, a.k.a. the Jack-O-Lantern?
The Jim O-Lantern, if you will.
The Boone O-Lantern.
The Boone O-Lantern.
I love a Boone reference.
We are going to be your horror hostesses with the mostesses today, because today we are going to be giving you some For the Love of Horror movies. Ooh.
Spooky.
So you may not know this, but in addition to being a crazy cat lady, I'm also a giant horror movie buff. Actually, our first date together, I made him watch a horror movie. So I've gotten him into the spooky, terrifying, crazy stuff, but we're going to start where we first started and then slowly work our way down. So I wanted to start this episode talking about our first date together, which was, I believe, on the couch at my dad's house.
Yes.
We popped in The Hills Have Eyes 2?
We definitely watched The Hills Have Eyes. I can't remember if it was the first one or the second one. We definitely watched both of them at some point. I think we did start with the second one. I remember the invitation. So long story short, we met on a Saturday.
Okay.
We went to Panera Bread, if you remember.
Okay.
I had lunch. You sat there and didn't eat anything.
I remember that.
Love this story. It's my favorite story in the world. The following day, you had texted me and said that you had broke up with your boyfriend at the time. I was already single. And literally the text that you sent was, do you want to come over and be my cuddle buddy? That was literally the phrase you sent. And that was the first time anybody tried that phrase on me, and it worked.
It worked. It was so good. I can move. Hey. All right, that's hilarious. So obviously, then I made you watch Hills Have Eyes. Did we finish the movie?
I don't think
I will be honest, I don't really remember that movie at all. I do remember that it was in like the desert, and
I remember
there was people that like looked crazy.
Yep. There was something about like a nuclear bomb went off, and that was like the people that like existed after they survived that or whatever.
Yeah.
The only scene I remember is somebody got a bunch of cuts on them, and then they were thrown into the bottom of a porta potty where all like the shit was, and it literally was like festering, and they like were stuck in there for like 2 days.
Bitch, we need to watch it again.
Yeah, it was gross and good. There's an unrated version too, which is probably the one that we watched that has that scene in it. But that's like the only reference I have besides like the creepy people that were in that like abandoned town.
I do remember
the little like western houses and stuff.
I feel like that movie, Hills Have Eyes 1 and 2, like they never got into that like horror Hall of Fame category.
I believe the ones we watched may have been a remake too. I think there was an older Hills Have Eyes
from
movie
like
or series or something. Yeah, like 80s, 70s.
Yeah, she's not in my like repertoire. I am a big fan of the like horror villain characters, the ones where it's like they have a personality,
the slashers.
They've got outfits, like full on slashers. So let's talk about our first experience with horror movies, not us together, but like, do you remember your first horror movie that you've seen? I do remember mine.
Yeah, like I don't think I watched the entire movie, but I'm pretty sure the first horror movie that I ever like witnessed was Poltergeist.
Okay.
I don't remember anything about the movie, but I know there's some significance to like the TV and like a static thing, and then like something happens with the TV. Not the Ring. I know the Ring is different, but there's something with a TV, and there's like a really creepy moment. And I just remember being like 5 years old or whatever, and that was like too much for me to handle. And then on top of that, there was around the same time I saw clips from It, the older one with the guy from Home Alone that also played in Rocky Horror.
Tim Curry?
Tim Curry. Thank you so much. I was literally having a stroke and drawing a blank.
I was like, is that
Tim
the word
Curry.
you're looking for? Come on, you know this
Thank you. You saved me. But yeah, I remember seeing that and just how like creepy, and then the fact that he was always like trying to go after like the little kids and whatnot, and I was probably
felt real,
about the same age at that point in time. Yeah, that one.
Your mom wanted to go to the carnival. You're like, no,
no,
we're not doing this shit.
How about you? What was your first experiences that you remember?
My first one that I remember was a horror movie called The Dentist. I remember watching it with my mother, and there was a part where there was like a 7 or 8 year old boy like screaming bloody murder in the chair at the top of his fucking lungs, getting like teeth pulled out in some manic way.
I've never heard of this movie.
And there was like blood everywhere, and I shit you not, that is the reason.
I was like, is this why I don't think you've ever been to the dentist?
I literally, I have the biggest phobia in the world of the dentist and spiders, and I will be honest with you, I'm getting more over my fear of spiders than I am the dentist. That fucked me up.
I understand. Is there a Final Destination scene with dentists too? I feel like there had to have been.
So I do believe there was like a fake out with one. I don't know if it ever actually happened, or that might have been the LASIK scene.
One too, yeah.
There was like a fake out where you thought it was going to be something, and then it didn't go that way.
The LASIK one's definitely real, because that's part of the reason.
We are going to talk about Final Destination.
I'm blind as a bat, and that's part of the reason why I won't get LASIK, is that freaking scene.
Also because you're awake, because there's a fucking laser in your eye. What the fuck?
It's too much.
But The Dentist was one of the first ones. Then Amityville Horror. I remember watching that with my mom and my stepdad.
The older one. Or the newer one.
The older one. The older one. And I remember there was like blood dripping from the walls in one scene, and like that one freaked me out a little bit.
That's a real house, right?
Yeah,
I think you can go see
actually,
it
when
somewhere.
there's one gig that we go up to. It's in Long Island or Staten Island where we pass.
Oh,
Amityville.
I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's 3 hours away.
No, I think I do remember you pointing this out.
Yeah, I'm like, that's where Amityville. Blah, blah, blah. So obviously, those don't really have any iconic horror villains in them. So I wanted to dive into the villains, the icons, the legends.
I'm all about it.
That is where I thrive. That is my shit when it comes to horror. I personally love a horror comedy blend. That is my chef's kiss. When you could take a killer, have him just gory and nasty and disgusting, but then also add comedic flair into there.
It makes the movie tolerable.
It's more palatable. Because if it's just too gory, you're like, get the fuck out of here. So I wanted to start talking about a couple of my favorites. I want to talk about a lot of movies, but I want to talk about some of my favorites first.
I love it.
Obviously, I am dressed today as the one, the only killer doll, Chucky from The Good Guys or The Good Gays, as you can see right here. So I've always really liked Chucky. I remember seen Chucky 3, I believe, probably when I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
And then I watched the other ones after that. I don't know why I seen the third one. Maybe it was on with my mom, whatever. But I really fell in love with him. I just thought he was so crazy, campy, over the top, a little bit silly.
Yeah.
And he had a personality that I've never seen in a killer before.
Yeah.
So he was the first one that I was really, really drawn to. Chucky 1, 2, and 3, they were a little bit more spooky and horror based.
Yeah.
By Chucky 4, Bride of Chucky.
Okay.
He was a fucking comedian.
Yeah.
There's a part where he's jerking off and literally has to come into a little bucket, and then they take a turkey baster and
Oh my God, I remember this. I remember
it gets fucking
It's
ridiculous,
so absurd.
but it's hilarious. I mean, at one part, he literally kills Britney Spears. She's driving on the road in Hollywood, drives her off the road. He's like, "Oops, I did it again!" Hilarious. So I love Chucky for that reason alone. Then they did Seed of Chucky, where he has Glenn/Glenda, his non-binary child. He's also an LGBT icon.
Yeah.
And then after that, they did Cult of Chucky, Curse of Chucky. The movies started to get a little more we're going out into a whole nother realm, but they brought it back with the sci-fi series. It's unfortunately canceled now. It lasted 3 seasons, and it was comedy gold. Chucky was in the White House.
That was the last season he was in the White House.
They literally parodied the politics that are going on currently, and it was insane. So Chucky, I will say, with the exception of one other villain that is slowly starting to inch their way towards Chucky, Chucky is my number one without a doubt. He is my guy. So Chucky really got me into the horror movies. And then actually, I do believe over here, I have my Child's Play series. I've got Curse of Chucky, all of the Chuckies, as well as the original Child's Play right
fancy
there.
box set.
Yep, this is the original box set. She's fancy. But that leads me to my next horror villain I wanted to talk about, who is the one I found out right after Chucky. That is the icon, Freddy Krueger, everybody. I've got his box set too. Ooh,
She loves a box set.
I do love a box set, honey. Box set, yes. So Freddy Krueger was another one that I really, really loved because he was very campy, very, very funny. Have you seen all of these? I know I've made you watch a few.
I've watched, I think, that set at one point or time, or one point or another, but I don't remember much of anything. I remember the basic story of it. He was some kind of accused child molester or something, and then the parents of the victims burned his house down or whatever.
Yep. So he made a deal with a demon to come back and haunt them in their dreams.
Okay.
It's another one where they started off spooky, but he still always had a little bit of a comedic element to him.
He's known for a one-liner or whatever.
Yeah, a little one-liner right before he kills you. I will say that everybody loves Johnny Depp, thinks he's the most handsome man ever. The only time I've ever thought he was attractive was in the original Freddy Krueger. He was 21 years old
first movies,
with a little crop top.
That was one of his first things, right?
Yeah. But Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean and shit. I'm like, what the fuck?
He hasn't showered
whatever,
in 3 weeks.
Literally, hey, if that's your thing, go for it. So really, really love Freddy. 1, 2, and 3 were incredible. 4 started to get a little far-fetched. 5, you're like, what the fuck's going on anymore? And they kind of tied it back in. There was one called New Nightmare where it brought things from the past back. But I really love him. He's one that I've never taken on, honestly, because I'm not in the mood for the prosthetics.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, although I will tell you, Ophelia Hotass found some stuff that makes it a lot easier than you think.
She always ends up peeling it off at the end,
Yeah,
right?
she can peel it off. So I may give Freddy a go soon, but I do love him. From what I have heard, the newer generation is not the biggest fan of him because he was a child molester. So they've tossed him to the curb. I'm like, he's also a villain and a killer, so like we're not supposed to really like him.
He's not supposed to be a role model by any means.
He's not a role model, but to each their own. I also love the fact that Robert Englund has literally played him since the beginning. Like,
it's been one actor the entire time?
It's been one actor the entire time.
When was that? Was that 70s or 80s?
Oh, you know what? I do actually believe I have the year that the first one came out. So the first Freddy Krueger came out in 84.
84. Okay.
1984.
So
yes.
30 years? 40 years.
Yep.
I can't do math, but 40 years. Wow. That's impressive.
So obviously then you've got Jason and Michael or some other 80s icons. Yep. I watched them, but I never got super into them. Their thing was they were a silent killer with no personality.
Wait, Jason is the one with the hockey mask.
Hockey mask, yep.
And then Michael Myers is the one with the pure white face and like the like mechanic kind of outfit thing?
Yep,
okay.
with the little like tuft of hair, Jamie Lee Curtis movies.
Yep, okay.
So both of them I've watched. I've seen all of them, but like I never got that draw and attached to the villain because they don't really do anything. Like they don't speak. It's just walking.
There's no personal.
Which one? You're watching it for the kills.
Friday the 13th is...
Friday the 13th. Now, Jason eventually went to space. They get crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
and then Halloween is the other one. Because they're not called like Jason and they're not called
Friday
Michael
the 13th, Jason, Halloween, Michael Myers.
So this is why I can't keep up. I can't keep up.
That's why we're doing this episode. This is honestly me just like training him today, everybody, for Halloween.
So I can study and record back.
Literally. And also excuses for us to watch the movies together. We still got another 2 weeks
or
until Halloween,
yep.
so
We're
I'll
good
get
to
you
go.
on it. But what were you just saying?
We were talking about Michael Myers and Jason and like the two differences between
I never fell in love with them because their personalities were a little bit more boring. Seen the movies, some of the kills are really cool. Freddy versus Jason, that was the chef's kiss combo because you have the hilariousness of Freddy mixed with the like spooky walk slowness of Jason, and Kelly Rowland was in it too.
Oh my god, I forgot all about that.
And then Freddy's little one-liner when he like rips her nose off, I got your nose.
Oh my god, I remember that. Is that the only time where there's been like a pair up like that, like Freddy versus Jason? Like there's like Godzilla and King Kong and stuff like that. But
they've talked about doing other ones since then, but they haven't done it.
That's the only one.
That was like an iconic moment in horror history. It was like, holy shit.
That's just opens. It's like the Avengers, but for horror.
Literally.
And then it's Jason is the one that went to space?
Yes, Jason.
I saw that one on like HBO at one point in time. That was absurd. Absolutely.
They started getting absurd.
There was like this like Star Trek movie that was happening, and then like all of a sudden Jason's just like on the Star Trek plane.
I think it's called Jason X, if I believe.
Is that what it is? Okay.
I'm almost positive, yeah. So they started getting campy and fun, and I'm here for that. Hopefully they release another one. I think Michael Myers or Halloween just did a movie last year.
Yeah, a year or two ago.
Like, they're not stopping.
Yep.
The last one I have not seen. I've seen every Halloween-related movie except for the newest one. We have not seen that one yet.
I think we saw the one where like Jamie Lee Curtis like kicks the shit out of somebody.
There is a newer one. We have not seen that, so we got to get on that one.
Yeah.
Another one I wanted to talk about that I've semi got you into last St. Patty's Day. Leprechaun.
Yes.
So he's an underrated killer.
Definitely.
Hilarious.
Yep.
Before he kills you, he has a little rhyme.
Yep.
One of them I use in one of my mixes is a friend with weed is a friend indeed, but a friend with gold is the best, I'm told. So he's absolutely hilarious. There's one movie, I believe it's called Leprechauns in the Hood.
Yep.
That was when I'm like, guys, we're getting a little too crazy.
That was their Bride of Chucky.
I was like, all right, this is getting insane. I think they did a second one, Back to the Hood, as well.
That sounds they went absurd.
He might have also went to space. Like, I do think Leprechaun.
Yeah, I think they like took the note and they were like, let's just keep running.
Evan, can you verify where else does Leprechaun go? Does he go to space?
I remember the thing that you got me to watch that because I'm a huge Friends fan. Jennifer Aniston. It's like one of her first movies, right?
Yep, she was in the first one, I believe.
Yep, she was like the girl.
Yep, Jennifer Aniston in Leprechaun. Like, that's how she got her start. You better work.
That's so good.
So we love Leprechaun. Not St. Patty's Day. Yeah, St. Patty's Day horror killer.
Yep.
But what about the one we just watched last night, the Thanksgiving Day killer?
That was incredible.
We need to talk about that because I went into this with expectations of like, this is going to be the stupidest movie ever. I'm just here to kill an hour and a half with my boyfriend and cuddle buddies. I was blown away at how well done that was.
Yeah.
That was so smart.
No.
So the name of the movie is Thanksgiving. I believe it's on Netflix.
Yep.
John Carver is the name of the killer in it.
It's with Patrick Dempsey, who is McDreamy or McSteamy from Grey's Anatomy.
Okay.
That was a big thing back in the day.
Grey's Anatomy's still on, girl.
I know. I just learned that on the radio the other day.
Crazy.
They're like catching up with Law & Order. Anyway, back to horror movies. He was like one of the main characters, and then there's a couple other people as well. But it was just, I didn't know where they were going to go with the story.
Same.
And the opening scene is incredible. I don't know if you remember, but when they first started doing Black Friday, Thanksgiving night, there was a scene at, I think it was a Walmart. This like really happened, if you remember, where like the people opened the doors and then like the security people and a couple other people got literally like trampled to death. And the beginning of the movie starts basically with like a recreation of that scene at like a different kind of Walmart type place, and then like it fast forwards to a year later, and then there's like a whole situation that happens as like a recreation, a re-inspiration of this thing.
We don't want to kill the ending, but there's a reason that somebody becomes this killer, something that happened on that Black Friday night the night before, but it took a holiday that you would have never expected a kill movie, and then just added all of these fucking insane kill scenes that you aren't like somebody gets baked like a turkey. Like I'll tell you that right now.
And, like put on the table, like headless,
sliced off, and
headless.
Shit.
Like you would, when you put a turkey on the table, there's no head. Literally headless with the legs and the arms of a human tied the way that a turkey would be. It was disgusting.
The trampoline scene. Oh my god! I will say that one. When you go in so low and it was that good, that one will be one I watch every Thanksgiving from here on out. It's like a tradition. It was
great. There was a couple holes in the plot for me, but it was very. I appreciated.
If there's a hole in the plot, just add some stuffing. God damn it! Okay, I liked it. Evan. Anyway, what about Leprechaun? Can you tell us? Did he go to space?
There's 8 movies.
There's 8. Holy shit! Okay, I have not seen all of Leprechauns. I've seen about 5.
Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4 in space, then after space, Leprechaun in the Hood.
He went to space before he went to the Hood? Damn.
Back to the Hood.
That one was a success, so they went back.
Leprechaun Origins in 2014. Leprechaun Returns in 2018, and there's an untitled reboot that's to be announced.
Okay, that's kind of fun. I'm here for the reboot.
That's iconic.
He went to space before he went to the Hood. That's ridiculous.
That's too much for me.
Absurd.
It's probably it was at the same time probably when Jason went to space. They're like, let's go.
That's crazy.
That is incredible.
Okay, so there's a couple other mentions I want to do before I dive into some other favorites. Obviously, death is not a person, but we were talking about Final Destination before. How iconic were those movies?
Yeah, I forget how many I think there was like 5 or 6 by the end of it.
I think it is 6, or they're going to release 6 next.
Okay. There was one that they released, like they said that it ended, and then they released another one a few years after.
Was that the one where it looked like they were playing with Hot Wheels on the bridge scene?
Yep.
Holy shit. That was when I was like, all right, guys, we need to get our budget back.
Yeah, that's where you were talking about like Chucky and whatnot being like the horror comedy, and the comedy is able to like keep you in the whole time. The first couple Final Destinations for me were incredible because it was like the first time you were seeing this like... There wasn't like a monster or a killer.
Exactly.
Everything like you just felt like it was this like force of the universe that like once you were supposed to die,
how's it going to happen?
Yep. And then you knew like there's always the beginning scene where everybody was supposed to die, but then everybody survives, and then like throughout the movie, then there was these little scenes that happened.
Yep.
And in the beginning, the first couple, it was it enticed you and it kept you the entire time, but then it got to the point where it was just like, this is just gory, and then it got to the point where it was just like gory and cheesy. I remember like there was
when the cheese started to happen. I feel like 3 was still good with the roller coaster. That was great.
Yes. What's the one with the highway and the logs?
That's 2.
That's 2.
2's the logs.
Yep. But I just remember there was a time period where like 3D movies were a big thing, like maybe 5-10 years ago, and that's when one of the Final Destinations came out. And I remember there was like the scene on the bridge, and something happened with somebody's intestines, and it was like the intestines like hit you right in the face. And I was like, oh my god, this is terrible.
He said, now I'm done.
I'm used to like Muppets 3D in Disney World where you get like sprayed with bugs or something.
I think that one actually was 4. I do believe that was number 4. That was
and then
the
I think there was like
one.
the Final Destination or something like that where they kind of brought it back.
And I think that's where we're at now. 5, and then 6 would be the next one released.
Okay.
I will say though that scene with the tanning bed in number 3, that one got me together. I mean, I think I've told you this before we were together. I was like literally a tanning addict. I had
orange.
2 memberships at 2 different places,
so you
because
could go
it
back and forth.
Illegal to go twice in one day. That movie though is the reason I switched to spray tan. So we can thank Final Destination, everybody, for saving my skin, saving me from burning in a tanning bed. So horror movies do good. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say.
Positive influence there.
So gotta give Death his mention. There's another mention that I am a little bit baffled at, but I need to pop this one out here right now. The Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, who I have fully forgotten about him.
I've never seen a Jeepers Creepers movie.
I have seen them. I just wanted to point out, because this is where the gag comes in, he has the highest kill count out of any horror movie.
Really?
I know. I feel like I've been lied to.
Like I said, I've never seen it. Is there like a mass thing?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what he did, but he has the highest kill count out of any horror movie character.
Impressive. I would not have
like 300 plus.
I would not have thought that at all.
Yep. So I don't know what he did. We're gonna have to like watch those and go back. But I was a little bit baffled.
2 of them?
To find. I think there might be 3 now.
3? Okay.
I know there was a 1 and 2 when I was younger, and I think like something else happened since then. So we definitely got to check them out. I don't know what the T is there. Obviously, another one that I love, I do a number as, is Jigsaw, aka Billy the Puppet.
Okay. So I if you don't mind, I want to take over there.
Please take it over.
So this is one of this is my very, very first like horror franchise that I ever got into. I did not see the very first movie live, but I saw the second one live, and that was the one where like the girl fell into the pit of hypodermic needles.
Yep.
There's like 9 people all locked in a thing, and they had to like work together to get out. I mean, that's every fucking movie, but that one was particular was like where there was the first time where there was a whole group of people. And I remember I saw that in theaters with my dad right around Halloween, and then I went back. I think I had my mom buy me the first one for Christmas because there was a Christmas where I got a whole bunch of like R-rated DVDs. It was the first year I was allowed to do that.
The 16th Christmas.
I probably exactly what it was, and I felt so badass. But I just remember watching the first Saw movie, and spoiler alert, if you have not seen the first Saw movie after I think 20 years or so at this point, there's a huge gag at the end. But just that whole movie going by with the dead body lying on the floor, and then the last like 5 minutes or whatever it is, and the fucking body gets up. That was like one of the most like intelligent pieces of like film that I had ever seen at that point in time, especially in like the horror realm. And
then just walks out of that room and closes the door and leaves him in the dark to die.
Yep.
Horrifying.
Yep. It was just incredible. And then just the stories that kept going for the next couple movies after that. I was a huge fan of the first 3 up until like Jigsaw died the first time. I honestly don't know what's happened in the last like 2 or 3 movies. I saw up until Saw the Final Chapter, which again was another one of those crappy 3D movies where intestines hit you in the face.
We both kind of like fell out. I think we even tried to do a full marathon of those one night, and we kind of like it just got to the point where we're like, this is just it's a lot.
Yeah, and again, no comedy, so it's just blood and guts, blood
Not
and guts,
even
blood
a
and guts.
dollop of comedy. See, that one it replaces the comedy with psychologicalness.
Yep.
So like instead of it being funny, you're thinking the whole
It's like
time,
mindfuckery.
which is like fun for 1 or 2, but like when you're trying to do a binger of 5 in a row, your brain's like. Yep, that's not like the sleepover movie you watch.
Oh God, no! And then like half the time, Jigsaw's like, "Oh, I'm killing you because you're wasting your life away and you're not living life to the fullest." And then you're sitting there like, "Am I living my life to the fullest? Is he going to kill me? What's going on?" So I just remember that one felt like one of the most like this could actually happen in real life kind of.
Oh my God,
horror movies.
I fully do remember feeling that after watching. I'm like, that could like, what if somebody wants to do this and like they can get me? Like I felt like that was real.
Yep.
Very, very that. Because like I said before, it was Chucky, Freddy. I liked. I was like, they're not.
There was always
real.
a supernatural.
Like,
kind
I knew
of
they weren't real.
Element.
Like,
yep. But this one, there was just that element of just like true, realistic horror.
Yep. Like anybody could do this with a sick enough mind and a fucking warehouse.
Yeah,
like
literally.
So obviously we love Jigsaw. I do the number as him. He definitely needed to be mentioned. Another one we need to mention that I did not realize was such an icon. They have the second highest kill count. I have not seen them, but I need to give them some credit. Candyman.
So I have not seen that either. I was half hoping that you did. So
I have not.
I
seen
don't even
Candyman.
know what it's about at all.
I don't know too much, but what I did want to give credit to is one fact that I do have here is the actor that got covered in bees. I do not know what his name was, but for that scene, they actually used live, real bees. And what they had to do in order to make this possible, he had them in his mouth and everything, full everything covered. What they had to do to make this possible was literally get bees to like breed and then have them only be, I believe it was 12 hours or 12 days old, probably 12 hours old. So their stinger, they looked like bees at that point, but their stingers weren't developed enough so they could sting. And that is how they did the entire thing. And the guy is still apparently, this is the true gag, was stung 23 times and then found a way in his contract with his lawyer to get it so every single sting he was paid $1,000 extra.
What a genius. I was going to say there needs to be some money there.
Boss bitch.
That's
boss
genius.
Bitch.
He's like, I honestly hope I get stung.
Yep.
$27,000.
$27,000 it was? $27,000. So kind of iconic. Kind of iconic.
They're like, well, it's cheaper than insurance.
Let's watch that, please. I don't know why we've like...
I honestly think I just heard of it recently. I don't remember. I think we were watching... We're going to get to the Terrifier shortly, but we were watching some behind-the-scenes Terrifier stuff, and I think it was brought up in that, and that was like one of the first times I've honestly like...
No, I've heard of it. I just don't know.
It.
I've like totally just like popped him to the side.
Like, there's like boogeyman movies, right? Like
yes.
That's a real thing. Like,
yep.
Okay, that I've heard of.
There's a movie called The Boogeyman. I don't know if they kept doing them.
Okay,
I remember seeing that though. I definitely seen that one. So another one that I wanted to mention that I didn't see too many of, I did only see the first one, is Pinhead.
Okay, so here's another one. I don't think I've ever seen it. But back in the days of the video cassette stores, back in the day, I didn't go to a Blockbuster, but we had a local one. I remember that cassette box was one of the like most like, I don't want to say attractive, but like I was just drawn to it every single time.
Yep.
And still to this
Everything
day,
you're saying, I totally remember
I
that.
haven't seen it still, but I just remember being like, what the fuck is this guy with the fucking nails on his head?
Yep. Everything you just said, like fully. I actually would love to do that as a drag look because of how cool it is. I just wouldn't even know where to start.
I was like, you really want to do that?
I want somebody else to do that. I've seen other people do it as a drag look, and they do amazing. Is what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
There was another one that just like made me remember that I wanted to. Oh, it's not even on this list. Blair Witch Project. That was another one where I was younger at the time, and I remember the whole hype around it, where they were selling the story that it was actually real. And like my parents thought it was real. And I remember they going to the movie theater, Blockbuster. They rented it, and I was like freaking out, like, oh my god, they're watching like a live footage of like the. Freaking the fuck out. I will tell you, that is one of the scariest horror movies still to date. Obviously, now I'm a little bit older. If I watched it at 2 years old, I probably wouldn't be as scared. But I remember that one growing up. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, but just the marketing they did in like whatever it was, 2001 or whatever the hell it ended up being for Blair Witch Project. That was just incredible. I just remember the scene. Like I lived in areas where it was like woods all around us. So just like those scenes were incredibly creepy, where it was like somebody like holding a camcorder running through.
Yeah, like I've never seen a movie like this. This has to be real.
No,
like,
and then what was the Paranormal Activity? They kind of tried to do the same thing, right?
Yep.
I remember the first couple of those were.
I seen like 1 or 2, and I didn't like understand. I'm like, are they trying to pretend this is real, or am I supposed to know that this is a movie?
I still don't know the answer to that question.
And as I didn't know either, so like I just didn't get into it.
I think it's the first part where we're supposed to half believe that it's real, but like it's also 20 whatever. 22.
I am gonna be so real too. I'm not scared of ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts at all. So like that draw or lore doesn't scare me whatsoever. So let's move on to another one that I really want to talk about right now. This was the only other doll movie that I've ever seen that can compare to Chucky. I have seen some other ones. There's Night of the Living Doll. There's a few, but fucking Megan needs her credit. Okay, I do believe Megan 2 is in the works. I don't know if it's happening or not. She took the world over by storm with that fucking dance. I'm not doing it right now because this is new hair. Thanks, Mad Hatter. But Megan was an iconic one. When I watched that, I was like, this is fucking great. It's so smart. It's so realistic. The world is going in this like AI. Maybe there will be dolls that are that like to help people that need social skills, kids. Like I don't know. That's possible.
It's like today's Furby, basically.
Literally like a Furby, but a little bit more creepy, obviously. So Megan is one. If you have not seen that one yet, check it the fuck out. Absolutely iconic. And
then they kind of did that they did like a Chucky remake too, where they had Chucky, there was like a factory wherever it was, and then the guy that was programming the Chucky doll like did something. Yeah.
My buddy. That was the doll. He was my buddy doll now.
Oh, you're right.
Yep. So that was when they made Chucky AI.
Yep.
I'm not the biggest fan.
But I appreciated the like attempt at modernizing it
rather than being voodoo related. Now it's AI related. I agree. That was kind of cool.
So I know we have a whole list of other ones that we want to talk about. But before we get into those, you want to take a quick break?
Yes, let's take a quick little break, cleanse my palate, sharpen my knife, and we'll come right back.
We'll be right back.
All right, and welcome back, everybody, to For the Love of Horror Movies. Before we took a break, we were just talking about Megan, but I did think of another doll movie that is not on this list that I do think needs some credit. Annabelle is a big one. We actually have not seen her.
There's like a whole series.
We've seen probably like The Conjuring, or like we've seen.
It's
one
called
of them.
The Conjuring series. I think it's the whole thing, and then I think we've seen the first 1 or 2 of those. Remember, there's like that little red devil guy that like pops up over the thing in like the dining room. That was like the first one, I think, and then there's a second one. I think Annabelle comes after that. It's like a prequel that happens before. There's a couple of them. I don't know, but yeah.
And there's also a movie called Dead Silence. I don't know if you remember that one. That one was all with
see the cover,
with
but
dolls.
I don't remember what it is.
There was a little Beware the Stare of Mary Shaw. She has no children, only dolls.
Yeah, I don't know that part, but I remember the puppet's face, the like marionette guy's face.
I just don't know if like Annabelle was in that at all and that had any reference or not. I'm not sure because there was a lot of dolls in
Tell
that
us
one.
in the comments below.
Tell us in the comments, please. Did Annabelle and the person or the doll from Dead Silence know each other? Did they fuck?
Were they friends?
Like, we don't know what they did. Anyway, there's another one we have on here that I'm going to be honest with you. It's the oldest one on this list. I have not seen it. I feel like a failure. It's probably the most iconic shower scene in horror history.
I've only seen that one scene, but
Psycho, the noise that we've been making the whole time, quoting plagiarism because we haven't seen it. So obviously, Psycho has went down in history. Everybody knows the scene.
Yep.
I don't know how it's gotten
ingrained.
It's been
recreated in a whole bunch of other
Literally,
horror
I'm
movies.
like, I don't know how it's gotten ingrained in my head when I haven't seen it, but it's clearly iconic, so that needs a little bit of a shout out. I see we have written here Norman Bates, so I'm assuming he was the starring role.
Killer. So there's the Bates Motel. I think that's all together.
I have went to the Bates Motel. That was in
this
Bar,
is all,
Pennsylvania. Really fucking good. Really, really good haunted house.
I think that's where the was supposed to have happened.
Gotcha. Okay.
My limited understanding of the series here.
So I don't want to dive quite into the one I'm very excited to talk about yet, but I do want to hop back to Jason Voorhees just as a little trivia. I didn't know if you were aware of who the killer was in the first movie or not, Jimmy.
So, spoiler alert, I am, just because we've literally created trivia questions with this as the answer.
Fuck. Oh,
but
God.
I
tried to get him.
I don't know how and why the whole story transpires. I do know that it's his mother.
Yes, so in the first one, it is Pamela Voorhees.
And then Jolena Jasmine does a number,
I was
right?
going to say Jolena Jasmine actually does a number as Pamela Voorhees, which is hilarious. I love that. But I really want to talk about the one, the only now. This is
our new love.
This is almost going to be the full second half of the show. So I've been trying to save it until now, but I think it's time. So we've talked about a lot of horror movies we've seen, but there is a new, not character, a new villain, if you will. A slasher who, he's not even new. I mean, he's been around since, I believe, 2011?
Yeah.
2011, I think. Has anybody seen the Terrifier movies yet? That's what I need to know, because he is the one. He is the girl. He is getting me together. Yep. I have never fallen in love with a series so quickly in my life, whether it be horror, comedy, TV show, anything. He has combined everything that I love and just put it into one character.
Yeah, so if you don't know, the Terrifier is a horror movie franchise that now has 3 full feature-length movies. It's like this third movie that just came out like less than a month ago is its first one that's getting some real media attention. It's the
number one movie in America right now.
Yep, it beat out the Joker movie the weekend that it released. It did more in sales than the movie with Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix. Do you want to go over the statistics for the?
So I want to tell them about the fact that this is somebody who started with not too much. Go over the backstory before I scare the fuck out of them with some of the kill scenes.
Yep.
So the director is Damien Leone. His name is, I believe he's from Staten Island, New York.
Yep.
And the first little short film he did, it was called The Ninth Circle, and that was released in 2011. And it was a quick little 10-15 minute short, whatever it may be.
It almost feels like it was his college thesis project,
like a college
or
thesis, very that. So a couple of years later, then he released a movie called All Hallows Eve. And All Hallows Eve, you could definitely tell, had a little bit bigger of a budget. I don't know what the tea was there, but he had 3 of his little shorts, those 10-15 minute shorts, played in that movie. Basically, the premises was there was a babysitter who found a VHS tape inside of one of the kids' candy bags. They put it in. Shit starts getting crazy, but that is where the Terrifier was really introduced to mass audiences. People seen All Hallows Eve, and in those little clips of movies that the babysitter's watching, he's in all of them.
Yep.
So that was where you really got to meet him, and you got to kind of see he is a character. He's a little silly, but definitely still very, very scary, but you didn't know too much about him then. It was very just bits and pieces.
Yep. And in that movie, it was a different actor than the ones in the current movies.
Also a different actor than the original
and I don't
Terrifier
think he was
2016.
Campy as he
wasn't
to be.
as campy. There was facial expressions and little things, but it was nowhere near as camp. You didn't get to see him too much. He wasn't really that much in the movie. It was an introduction. So anyway, people loved him so much in that. They were obsessed with this character of the Terrifier. He didn't even have a name at the time. I think it might have been Art the Clown.
Yeah,
I mean, they might have written. He did. He had a name. So they were obsessed with Art the Clown, and literally they got a GoFundMe together. They crowdfunded money to get a Terrifier movie where the whole movie was based on this clown. So they raised $35,000, and in 2016 the Terrifier came out. Actually, at the end credits, we literally just watched it last night.
Yep.
The end credits literally are our sponsors.
It was
from
the Indiegogo sponsors.
Indiegogo sponsors, and there's X amount of people listed. It's crazy, but that movie set the tone for the rest of the series. I need you to watch it because it's incredible. He is not just funny, but he's silent. Let me say that now. He's a mime, so he doesn't speak at all. But he is funny in the weirdest ways to where you almost feel like you're dealing with a excited 8-year-old kid who's just beyond.
Who's never experienced really anything in life.
Who's been locked away and you brought him to New York City for the first time and everything is so exciting and happy, but I don't know, it's fucking crazy.
Yep.
I can't describe it. You need to watch it. But anyway, what I was trying to get to is the reason that movie took off and the reason that people were just holy shit, there is an infamous kill scene in that one where he literally has somebody hanging upside down with their legs spread open, and you watch him saw them in half from top to bottom as he's cracking up the entire time. Like, it's fucking crazy.
And he's like struggling to like get through the person, and it's like a whole thing.
Fucking
all
crazy.
While the girl who's getting cut up's best friend is watching 20 feet away.
So, absolute fuckery. I will tell you, the first one was the most like, holy fuck. You watch that and you're like, oh my God. Like,
I don't know. The third one might have people saying the same thing.
But
we're not as sensitive.
But by there, you're ready for it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
Like,
yes.
we watched that one not knowing much. We watched Terrifier before All Hallows Eve.
Yes.
So we watched that and we're like, holy shit, this is crazy. But I also kind of wanted to know a little bit more about him. So I'm like, all right, let's watch Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 came out about 5 years later, I think 2022. That one was in theaters for a little bit. Took off, did pretty well, but nowhere near as well as the newest one. That one definitely had some kill scenes that were absolutely insane.
Yeah, that one I believe had a $250,000 budget.
That one had $250,000. Oh damn! Okay.
The second one. The first one was 35. Then the studio gave them a $250,000 for the other one. And then I don't know what the sales were from that, but they did enough.
Wow!
To
slay.
where for the third one, I believe you said it was what was the
$2 million for the
$2
third
million
one. That one,
budget for the movie. And I know in the opening weekend, I think they did $11 million. So the studio is already happy.
I think opening weekend, I believe it was 18 million.
There you go. So maybe it was 11 million when we checked, and then I haven't updated it since. So they more than made their money back and then some.
Fully. But after Terrifier 1, where you're just like, holy shit, this is really, really, really just insane. Where's the plot going? Terrifier 2 fully brings you into the plot. You do find out that he is a more supernatural character, and there's a whole backstory. Not going to spoil anything for you, but I'm just going to say watch them in order. Do not watch 3 first, because you're not going to understand a lot of the things going on.
Very true.
Watch 1, watch 2, and then just get ready, because 3 did take it to a level that, like, you just need to be ready for. Yep. You just need to be ready for it.
Damien, the director...
The comedy... I've never laughed so hard in my life. Like, hilarious. When he meets Santa Claus, it's comedic gold. Yep. But then some of the kills in there, like, the director should be put away for them. It's insane.
Yep. The director even says that within the first 5 minutes, he wanted anybody that was, like, not going to be able to tolerate the movie to leave. That's how, like, the opening scene of the movie is. It's incredibly good. And then there's also a scene, you talk about Art meeting Santa. There's also a scene where Art plays the mall Santa Claus.
Oh, my God.
Like, you can imagine how that can
You're just
transpire.
Horrified the whole time. Because you don't know, like, what's going to happen. But, like, then he's also, like, funny and, like,
It's like a candy store.
I don't know how to describe it other than it's just taking all of the senses that you weren't expecting when you go into a horror movie, and like it starts tingling all of them, and you're like, I think I like this, but then you're like, wait, am I sick as fuck for liking this? Like, no, I think I like it.
No, he is. I think it's like what you said. He's like the first slasher killer since like Chucky or Freddy, where you almost root for him.
Literally, like, I want to be friends with Art the Clown.
Do you know what I mean? Like, even with Jigsaw, like, I was never really rooting for that guy. Like, I was happy when he was like dying and getting his ass kicked and shit like that. But like Chucky, you're like, oh, don't kill Chucky, even though he's like murdering the entire
Same
cast.
with Freddy. It's because they have the comedy. You want to you like, oh, like I could be friends with him.
Like, you wouldn't kill me.
Like, and even if he did, like, I'd forgive you. Just do it creative so the audience gets a really good movie out of it.
Yeah, I need good content.
Literally. Can you take my Instagram and just post this afterwards? But yeah, so I definitely wanted to finish off with the Terrifier, because I feel like that one was one we've just fallen in love with.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to be buying merch. We really wanted the popcorn buckets, but they were sold out.
We can't find them in any of the damn theaters.
Literally. I mean, we looked everywhere. We were looking in Pennsylvania. We were going crazy. If you go on AMC's website, you can order it, and it'll ship March 2025. I don't have time for that. That's crazy. So anyway, with that being said, let's just finish off this For the Love of Horror Movies with what would you want to see out of your ideal next horror movie? What do you love about horror? What is your favorite thing? What would you want to see in 2025? I will say Art, for me, pushed horror to where I wanted to see it again. He was what I wanted, and I didn't realize that.
So yeah, I don't know if you remember, but I made a joke maybe a month ago, or like a month before we started watching the Terrifier movies, and I was like, why has there not been a situation where like there's a killer that's like not afraid to take out children, like actual like small children, like where you see it on stage?
Because the world got super PC a couple years ago. Everybody freaked the fuck out when we were like, ah! And now I think we're finally at the point where we're all like, oh, it's okay to talk to each other again. We can interact.
But that is what Art Art will go there. There's not necessarily like a boundary where he's like not afraid to go to.
No.
I believe you told me that the directors got criticism for being like misogynistic, because some of the first victims were like naked females and whatever. And then in the later movies, there's naked males that
I'm gonna say literally like, So he got notes that like he was misogynistic for some of the kills because kills were to women. But when I tell you in this third one, he just said,
and the second one,
but like in the third one, I mean, there was dick and chainsaw and things happening. A man was fucked by a chainsaw. It was crazy. Yeah. So like he just wanted to like shot that rumor right down. He was just like, just so you're aware.
No, that's and just keeping things like current and with the times. Like I love the integration of like the AI stuff with Megan and just like how that can be like an actual real life thing that could be happening. I do love an edge of like realism with the horror stuff as well. That's why Saw was very interesting to me in the long run.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I am looking for that cult classic type. I'm hoping that the Terrifier continues to do more movies. I want it to get absurd. I want you to go to 6, 7, and 8 and have it be a little ridiculous. That hasn't really happened since the 80s, 90s. Chucky's the only one
like
that
Chucky
really...
and Leprechaun, I don't know which was first or
like,
whatever, but like they're
keeping it going. But like I love that. I told you before, I wanted this whole entire sleeve to be all 80s horror movie characters. And now I'm like, actually, I want it to be a couple from the 80s, a couple from 90s, and one from that. But like that, I love that. I just love that like cult classic horror. So like this March, I think they're doing a horror con in New Jersey. We better be going.
We have to go.
Okay?
We have to go. You know I love a convention.
And if Art the Clown's there, like... we'll spend our money to get that meet and greet.
I know Onyx Black is a huge horror fan. She said she's met him and Damien Leone at some of the conventions.
Oh,
so
I
think we'll be in good luck.
Also, too, I need to give her some credit. The star of the movie, what is her name?
The hero girl?
Yes.
The character's name is Sienna. I don't remember
Lauren. Evan, can you look that one up? I think it's Lauren Levra. I'm probably so fucking wrong. Let's hold and see how wrong I am. I said it's Lauren Levra.
Yeah. Sienna is the character.
Yes, Sienna is the character.
Oh,
I was close.
I was
Lauren Lavera. Okay. She is the best protagonist. Is that the word?
Yes, because an antagonist is anti.
I have seen in a horror movie in a minute. She's not like scared. She's a boss bitch. And that's what I like. It's like, oh, I'm not scared of you. Like, let's fucking go. Let's do this.
And that was the one critique that we did have for the Terrifier is the like two protagonists in the second and third movies are her and her brother, and her brother we were saying was like not the best actor
the brother
in the world.
Sucks.
He was,
and they killed him off.
Or
maybe they didn't.
There's a scene where he's getting like beaten with this like chain thing, and you don't believe that he's getting beaten.
No, like he's like getting stabbed, and he's like, ah,
my toe,
my nail. All right, so I think we went over everything before spoiling the entire movie.
Yeah,
I was trying to tie it up before you know we're spoiling the entire movie, telling the whole plots, everything else.
It's okay.
So like we said, we need to go to HorrorCon. Definitely need to do that. Make that happen.
There's a couple classic movies that we need to catch up on.
We definitely need to catch up on a few more. I do feel like Onyx Black would be a great one to have a movie night with.
Oh,
She's one that makes
me
feel normal. She likes her spooky shit.
I feel like she knows.
Didn't she host one of the horror cons?
I think she did do something in drag at a HorrorCon.
Ooh,
I don't remember what it was. That sounds very, very familiar.
Also, what we need to do, one other thing that's very important, because I don't know how you've survived 30-something years without going to one of these, a haunted house.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done like a real, besides like Orlando Studios or whatever it's called, Universal Studios Orlando.
Okay,
like that kind of a thing.
We are
like
definitely.
I really want to do like one of the prisons or like one of the like.
We're gonna do Eastern State Penitentiary or something because I need to get you into that zhuzh. It's an Eastern State Penitentiary too. They have like a full like cocktail themed.
Is that the one where you can like sign something where they can touch you?
Yes, and they can like grab you from your friends and shit. Yeah, like let's go crazy. All right,
that's fun. I like that.
So with that being said, that is the end of For the Love of Horror. Although it's really not because we're probably gonna go watch horror movies right after this. So the end of For the Love of Horror for you. But next week we're very excited for our pod because we are going to be talking about our crazy, wild, insane adventures in New Orleans.
If you didn't notice, me and Astala have a little addition to our nostrils here.
Yes.
It's not a booger.
Yes.
There might be. I don't know.
Yes, we do. We got our septums pierced. I think if you listened to For the Love of Nashville, you heard our girls got their septums done there. We were out of the club, so we needed to join. So here we are with ours done. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. We cannot wait to tell you about our crazy, crazy, crazy meatball days.
Yeah, we thought we had fun in Nashville, but then we went to New Orleans.
And then there was absinthe.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, shit. Okay, it's over now.
Something that was illegal up until 2007, I believe the bitch said.
Yeah, 2007. That's insane.
Insane.
Well, let's save this shit for next episode.
Insane.
All right.
Insane.
So we will see you guys next week. So be on the lookout for the Love of New Orleans. But until then, I do want to say a couple thank yous right now. I want to give a gigantic thank you to all of our Close Fam sponsors, as well as our Call Me Mother sponsors, Barbara Rambo, Kathy P, the Drag Fan 27, and last but certainly not least, Barbella Whiskey. Thank you guys so much for supporting the pod. And we'll be back next week with a little voodoo for you. Ta-ta! Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.